and welcome once again to Caleb Likes Books. Today I have another book review for you, and that is for The Sunlit Man by Brandon Sanderson. This is one of his secret project books that he released a few years ago now, and is the last Cosmere book in terms of prose novels that I actually needed to read before I'm fully caught up. So now, as of right now, I still need to read the White Sand graphic novel, which I'm intending to do very soon, and then once I finish that, I will be fully 100%, everything included, caught up on the Cosmere in terms of like stuff that's available. So very excited about that. This one was, I wasn't that excited about it going in, to be honest. Out of all the secret projects for the Cosmere, of course there was one that wasn't Cosmere, but of the 4 out of the 5 that were released that were Cosmere related, this is probably the one that I was the least interested in. And I just, I knew the big spoiler about it going in of the identity of the main character. And I just, was like, I'm not that interested. I'll check it out sometime, but I'm not that excited about it. And so going into this, I was kind of expecting it to just be, I like Sanderson's work a lot. He's probably my favorite author. So I was expecting to enjoy it, but I didn't think I'd love it. But after having read this now, I still wouldn't say it's one of my favorite books that he's written, but I really, really liked it. I loved this book a lot, most of the way through. Early on, it took me a little bit to really get into, but I did enjoy a lot of this book. So to talk about some of the stuff I enjoyed in this book, there's a lot about just the setup for this book that I love. First of all, I love the world building in this book, which basically the concept behind the world building is that this takes place on a planet which is very small, and is like being like the star that it is orbiting or something like that is like very bad for the planet. Like it has a very short rotation, so basically the sun is strong enough that it just completely burns up anything that it touches on this world, and so the people who live on it have to constantly be on the move, or else if they fall into the sunlight instead of the shadow, they will have a very bad time, which is a really interesting idea to me. Some of the most interesting world building in a Sanderson book that I have read so far, both in terms of the actual world and just the idea of it, and also getting to see like how that affects the culture and everything, like the way that these people are and what they have to do in order to survive and all that stuff. Really, really cool, really interesting. And then also on top of that, the book basically follows a character named Nomad, who is a character that if you've read the Stormlight Archive, you will recognize, at least eventually. I'm not going to say who it is here, although I was aware of their identity prior to reading the book, but he's a character from the Stormlight Archive, and not a character I was super interested in, so that's why I wasn't like that excited about him going in. But basically he's a character going between worlds and things like that, as many characters do in the Cosmere. And this is also taking place like pretty well into the future era Cosmere. I don't know exactly when, but I would assume Mistborn Era 4, Mistborn Era 5, somewhere in there. I mean, there's space travel going on, so probably Era 5, quite a ways out. And he is on the run from the Night Brigade, who is trying to hunt him down, and he ends up on this planet of Canticle, where this, weird sun thing is happening, and gets involved with people there trying to escape from the Night Brigade and all this stuff, and all that kind of thing. And I rather found myself enjoying his character quite a bit. Like I said, I wasn't super interested going in, but I think he has a really good arc across this book. And it made me, I think, much more interested in this character and more interested in seeing him more as time goes on. Because I listened to this on audiobook, and I also listened to the postscript after the audiobook ended, and in it Brandon said that he may not get more POV books of this character, but you will probably see more of him. So now I'm actually more interested in seeing more of this character at this point in the Cosmere timeline. So I think he was very well done. I really enjoyed getting to see his arc. He also has a companion called Auxiliary that he is with, and I really enjoyed the dynamic that the two of them had together. I also really enjoyed a lot of the other characters as well. It's kind of similar in some ways to some of the other books. Like you have something like, like in Stormlight Archive with Bridge 4, or like the Mistborn trilogy with the Thieving Crew. He kind of falls in with this crew of people, and they all have interesting personalities, fun dynamics between each other, good dialogue, all that kind of stuff. And especially, there's other characters, like there's a character named Elegy who has an interesting story throughout this book as well as some others. And there's also like this, the main villain of the book, who his name is not coming to me at the moment for some reason, but I enjoyed learning more about him as well, and his dynamic within the story was interesting. So a lot of good character stuff here too, especially, like I said, for Nomad, the main character. I really enjoyed getting to see his arc throughout the book, which, he's kind of an interesting character at the beginning, especially knowing what I know about him from Stormlight Archive. But then you get to kind of see how he grows and changes across this book, and how the events of this book impact him by the end, and I think it's very well done. I also really like the action in this book. This book is one of, I think, the most fast-paced and action-packed books in the Cosmere so far. Very action-heavy. Like, when you think of like a Cosmere book, or a Sanderson book in general, I assume, I haven't read any of his non-Cosmere stuff yet, but a Sanderson book, you think of it, us fans call it the Sanderlanche, where at the very end of the book, like the last 20% of the book or whatever, all the revelations happen, and, the action ramps up and all these things. It's like a big epic ending. And this has that, but it doesn't feel like it has that, because the action and the pace is so high throughout the book a lot of the time, especially considering, they're on this world where if they don't stop moving, they die. So very much fast paced, of like they're constantly having to travel and all this stuff. But it's very action heavy, it's very fast, and it's a very unique flavor of story compared to the rest of the Cosmere books. It's not really like anything else out there, which is something I appreciated about it. It's fun to kind of get something a little bit different, which is something I love about all of these Secret Project books. All of them feel like unique books from everything else in the Cosmere, which I think is really cool. So I really loved the world building. The world building, I think, was excellent. The plotting as well. I think this is one of the best world building and plot in a Cosmere book so far. I just thought that the storyline of what was going on was really interesting. And then, working in the characters with the main character arc of Nomad and all this stuff, working in the interesting world building aspects and all that stuff. Some great action scenes. The ending of the book is fantastic. Some really, really great moments towards the end of the book. So overall, really, really solid. If I were to point out anything I didn't love so much about this book, it is, I kind of alluded to earlier, the beginning of the book didn't quite hook me a huge amount. I think it took me about until maybe a third of the way, or 40%-ish through the book, for it to really get me engaged. For the first little while, I was like, it's good, but for like the first 40 or 50%, like the first half of the book, I was thinking, yeah, this will probably, if it keeps up the way that it's been, it'll probably be like a 7 out of 10 kind of book. Whereas now, as far as a rating, I'd probably give this like a 9 out of 10. I really enjoyed it. So I think that, it took a little while for me to get engaged and invested, pun intended, in this book. But once it got going, once I was really into it, I really enjoyed it a lot, and I loved the entirety of the back half of the book. And I think it was really well done, and like I said, very unique for the Cosmere, which is something I appreciate about it. Enjoyed it a lot more than I expected going in. So yeah, overall, I thought this was a really good one. It's not quite one of my favorite Cosmere books, I think, and it doesn't crack my favorite of the standalone books either, or my favorite of the Secret Projects, but I did really enjoy it a lot, and I had a really good time with it. So that is pretty much it for the review. Let me know in the comments if you have read The Sunlit Man, what you thought of it, if you really enjoyed it, if you didn't, what you think of it in comparison with the other Secret Project books, what you think of it in comparison to the other Cosmere standalone books. Whatever your thoughts may be, let me know in the comments. And now that I have basically finished up the Cosmere, which I'll probably wait to do this till after I read White Sand, but I may do an updated Cosmere ranking here soon, maybe. If you're interested in that, let me know. I'll probably wait a little bit just to let these last couple books kind of solidify in my mind what I think of them. But that is something that I'm going to start thinking about doing. So be on the lookout for that. I will probably try and do that sometime here, maybe not real soon, but within the next few months, I'm sure. So be on the lookout for that. So that is pretty much it for this one. So thank you all for watching, and I will see you all next time.